Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Hello Goddess podcast. I am your host, Mandy Déa de Grace. If you don't know who I am, just an overview of what I do. I am a naturopath, Reiki practitioner, and dance teacher, and a lover of all things spirituality, wellness, personal development. So if you are into those kinds of things, you are definitely at the right place. If this is your first time listening to Hello Goddess, welcome. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. I apologize that I took so long to record an episode since my last one. I'm the type of person that I like to really go with the flow in life and not force things creatively if it's not natural, if it's not coming naturally. But lately I had been feeling that pull to create another episode for you guys. I feel super inspired by something that I had been listening to lately. So lately I've been really into listening to audiobooks. I do enjoy a real book as well, but I find like for my focus, when I'm reading a book, it's a little bit harder for me than when I'm listening to an audiobook. I also enjoy like the concept of multitasking with that. Like, let's say I'm driving somewhere, I put the audiobook on, or if I'm cleaning, or even sometimes when I'm at the gym, depending on like what vibe I'm looking for, I like to have an audiobook playing. And there's this book that I kept seeing all over social media that is called The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And it just intrigued me because I've always been drawn to yoga and yoga philosophy. And so I found it. It's included in Spotify Premium. And so, yeah, I found it and I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to this. Like there's something there. If I keep seeing it in my social media, I think there's something that I need to learn from this book. And so this book is amazing. It has been written thousands of years ago. It's not a new book. And it's so rich in wisdom. And this is why I wanted to hop on and create an episode and talk to you guys about this book, because a lot of wisdom that is really practical that you can apply to your life today. So the first thing that I learned in this book is that yoga is so much more than just exercise. And I think if you're a regular yogi, you already know this. But I think that our understanding of yoga in the Western world is very limited because we associate yoga with what we see in the yoga classes, which is the asanas, like when you're doing certain poses, like the movement and the breathing in the poses. That is an important part of yoga, but yoga is actually so much more than that. It is a way of life. So basically in this book, Patanjali explains that yoga can be broken down into 8 limbs. And one of the limbs is asanas. Asanas is when you're doing when you do yoga class, basically that's what it is. But there's other aspects of yoga that are just as important, if not more important, that can really guide your life if you apply them to your day-to-day life. So yeah, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is a really important book. It's really dense. There's a lot of deep wisdom in there. And it talks about the philosophy of yoga beyond just the asanas, beyond just stretching and the poses, what it means to practice yoga on a day-to-day life, off and on the mat. And so I wanted to talk about this. I'm not a yoga teacher. I don't have a lot of knowledge on this, but I really thought that I wanted to share just my take on it, things that I took away from this book that I already apply, or that I'm trying at least to apply as much as I can in my life, so that I have a better relationship with myself, with other people, and with life in general. So the first point that I thought was really powerful and that really transformed my life when I started to understand it really is non-identification with thoughts. So that sounds kind of fancy, but basically what it means is that you are not your thoughts. I read this book when I was about 20 years old called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And I remember exactly where I was. I was in a plane when I read this book, and it clicked because he talks about this in this book in very great detail, like to understand that you're not your thoughts. And he explains why and how you can realize that you're not your thoughts. And yeah, that was a really pivotal moment in my life. I realized, like, okay, so when I'm thinking about something in my mind, am I the thoughts or am I the person listening to the thoughts? So there's this space in between. And if you're a meditator, you probably already noticed this, because one of the things that is really important when you meditate is to watch your thoughts and to, like, let them go slowly. Like some people say, like, put your thought on a cloud and just let it float away. And you start to realize, like, those thoughts are just arising from your consciousness. They are not you. They are just something that is happening in your mind. So the concept of not being your thoughts is really powerful, because once you realize that you are not your thoughts, you can start to decide what you want to think. You can there's a concept in psychology called metacognition. So this is your ability to observe your own thinking, basically, and change your own thinking. And so once you are able to observe your thoughts and know that you are not what you are thinking, it becomes a lot easier to just change that program and to start thinking things that you actually want to think about yourself, about the world, things that are more constructive, because usually the thoughts that arise they don't even have anything to do with you or what you want to think. They're just based on programs that you learned in your life, whether that was your surroundings growing up or the culture that you're in, or maybe like you picked up a belief in your life about something that you just picked up, but it's not necessarily true. When you look back at the thought, you're like, this isn't actually helping me, or it's not even true. So it's really important to be able to curate your thinking, and to be able to do that, the first thing you have to realize is that you're not your thoughts. And so that gives you back your power. A lot of the times as well, I find that automatic thinking is usually negative, because the brain wants to protect you, right? So it is programmed to scan for negative things in your surroundings, in your life, to be able to prepare yourself for danger. And so when you start to disidentify your thoughts through meditation, through personal work with a therapist, or journaling, or even during yoga, like if you're able to create that space between you and your thoughts, that gives you back your power. You distance yourself from that negativity, and you start to consciously choose the thinking that you actually want, that is constructive, that is going to build your life for the better. So that's the first concept that I really loved about the book, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, non-identification with thoughts or with the mind. The second one that I really enjoyed is non-attachment to outcomes. So basically, this means that we let go of control and we surrender, but it does not mean that we stop caring about our goals or that we become passive in our lives. Non-attachment to outcomes means that we learn to focus on what is within our control, which is things like our own actions, our thoughts, our effort, our intentions, our energy, and then we loosen the grip on the results. So I can give you a beautiful example that will explain what I mean by this. Let's say you plant a garden. You can prepare the soil, you can water the seeds, you can care for the plants, but you cannot force them to grow. The plants grow on their own time. So there's a lot of factors that contribute to if the plant is healthy or not, like the weather, timing, and so many other factors that are beyond our control. Life is just like that. Whenever we have something that we want to manifest in our lives, we can nurture the seed, and we can make sure that we give it our all, but sometimes there are some factors that are outside of our control, and we have to detach from these outcomes. So non-attachment is trusting the process enough to do your best without being consumed by whether the harvest looks exactly the way you imagined at the end. We can still have these dreams and these goals for ourselves, but we meet life with greater flexibility, peace, and openness to the possibilities that we may have not considered before. So that is another thing too. Yoga is so powerful because while we practice flexibility on the mat, it is also a metaphor for the flexibility that we can practice in our lives. If we learn to be flexible with life, we show a type of strength that being too rigid doesn't give us. The third point that I really enjoyed in this book is the concept of contentment. So another way of saying it is the concept of gratitude or thankfulness for what you have right now. Sometimes we're so focused on the next thing that we don't realize that we've already accomplished so many things that we wanted to accomplish, and we already have so many things that we wanted to have when we were younger, and maybe we didn't actually take the time to feel gratitude and to feel proud of ourselves for what we actually already have. And so that doesn't mean to not have goals. It doesn't mean to not have desire for something more in your business or in your personal life or whatever it is that you want to improve. That's so okay. But I think that sometimes we miss the mark and we're so focused on what we don't have that we miss what's right in front of us. We have so many beautiful things already around us and within us. And so that concept of contentment is really powerful, because once you feel that contentment, you can really enjoy your life. And life is happening in the present moment. It's happening right now. You don't want to get to the end of your life and look back and realize that your whole life you were looking forward and not enjoying the moment. So yeah, I really recommend you guys read or listen to this book, The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. If you're into like philosophy or yoga, I think you guys would really like it. Otherwise, maybe this episode is enough for you to take away something positive from my own summary, the 3 points that I really enjoyed. So yeah, the non-identification with thoughts, you are not your mind. That one, I suggest meditation is the best way to understand this, like viscerally, to understand that you're not your thoughts. The second being non-attachment to outcomes. I think that's a powerful way to live life. And the third one is contentment, which is really powerful. Basically, it's about gratitude for what you already have. And you have so much to be grateful for. I mean, just the fact that you're listening to this podcast means you have the technology to listen to things online, which is already a lot more than some people can say they have in the world. And so just try to notice things that you maybe take for granted, like the food every day that you have on your plate, the relationships you have in your life, the people that love you, your pets, the beautiful sunshine outside, things that we have every single day that we take for granted. So before I end the episode, I want to invite you guys to ask yourself a really powerful question. And this ties into everything that the Yoga Sutras are about. So the question is, if you were not defined by your thoughts, by your fears, your achievements, or other people's opinions of you, who would you be? Sometimes spirituality sounds a little bit complicated, and it's just really all about finding out who you are beyond the labels that life has imposed on you. And once you know who you are, you can live authentically and you can connect with your heart and just live with kindness and compassion for yourself and for others and the world in general. That is what it means to me to live a spiritual life. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you were able to take away a few things that you can apply to your life right now. Or hopefully this episode made you think a little bit more deeply about yourself and the world. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to connect with me through the podcast. And if you are listening, I'm sending you so much love and light, and I hope you have an amazing week. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.